right, welcome everybody to this new episode of Climate Cafe Green Blue of Floris Bogart and I. We're doing this for over 5 years already. The Climate Cafe Green Blue online is a part where we discuss green blue infrastructure. We always discuss things like bioswales, infiltration, water quality, but we drift towards infrastructure or water quality, zoomed in, social projects, climate scans, even sedimentation research, everything that touches the topic of green blue. I'm Sydney Staks. I'm from the municipality of Nijmegen. I have a background in aquatic ecology, but drifted all the way towards urban stormwater. That's what I'm doing right now, but I always love if we have a topic on aquatic ecosystems again. So I'm really glad to introduce again a topic. It's about aquatic ecology, but it's on solar panels as well. We're not going to do the introduction for everyone just to save time. So I think we can skip ahead to Emma van Veenendaal. She's doing a research on water quality from both the ecological and hydrological perspective, I think. In the case of floating solar panels, which is a hot topic in the world, but also in the Netherlands, because they get built a lot in the Netherlands, I think. It's an upcoming technological application. So I think I will just give the floor to you, Emma. Will you do your own introduction from your presentation?
Yes, sure.
All right. And one question beforehand. Do you want questions during your presentation, or should we wait afterwards and just save it all till the end?
Feel free to interrupt me. I don't mind. And otherwise, indeed, leave them to the end. It's both fine by me. Yeah.
All right. You can also put questions in the chat, because Emma can't always see if somebody still wants to talk or puts their hand up. And then Floris and I will moderate that. We will let Emma know if there are questions. But as Emma mentioned, I think you can break in. So feel free to do whatever you want in that case. And then we say, the floor is yours, Emma. Go ahead.
Thank you. Let me start off by sharing my screen. Yeah, you can all see this, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Well, first off, thank you for inviting me. I'm indeed Emma. I'm doing a PhD at Deltares and within the project SURE. So not actually within Sparkles, but because there's a lot of overlap between what I'm researching and what Sparkles is doing, we work together a lot. So yeah, so I'm looking at the impact of floating solar panels on freshwater ecosystems at Deltares. And I started a bit over a year ago now. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So first of all, why is this relevant? Well, you're quite aware of climate change and that there's a need for a global energy transition. And solar panels play a very large role in this. And since the first deployment in 2007 of floating solar panels, this was done in Japan, the deployment has grown a lot. You might wonder why. Well, because they save up land space. So especially in the Netherlands, where land space is quite scarce, that is beneficial. And additionally, the water has a cooling effect, and therefore it increases the energy efficiency. Now, despite this growing deployment, the impact of floating solar panels on the environment is still unclear. Empirical data is relatively scarce. It's usually short term, so a couple of months, maybe a year, but multiple years of data is quite rare. Yeah, and it's usually focused on the abiotic parameters, but the impact on the food web and the rest of the ecosystem is still very unclear. Over here you see an infographic of potential impacts of floating solar panels. So if you would visit a floating solar park, the first thing you would probably see is a lot of birds sitting on top of the panels, which comes with a lot of bird droppings, which the owners do not really like. But that is one large impact of floating solar panels. But other impacts you might expect is, well, of course, the physical blockage of the panels, which reduces the interaction of the wind with the water surface, and therefore it influences the mixing of the water. And that can have an impact on stratification, which you can see on the right.
You change your mouse to a laser pointer. Maybe that is.
How do I do it?
Right click. Go to pointer options.
Oh,
And you choose.
laser pointer.
Yeah.
Ah, beautiful. Okay. So stratification is the formation of layers in water, which is often stronger in summer. So it leads to the formation of a warmer top layer, which can have a lot of algae and therefore a lot of oxygen. And it has a colder layer on the bottom, which can become oxygen depleted, which influences the rest of the ecosystem, and it can trap nutrients. So the impact of the FPV system on this process, well, it's not entirely clear. Other impacts you might expect is, well, there can be on-growth of animals on the structures of the FPV system. Fish could aggregate, similar as they do near docks. And what I will be looking at mostly is this part. I will focus on the impact of FPV systems on algae and a process called primary production. Simply put, primary production is the production of oxygen and organic matter through a process called photosynthesis, and it's done by algae and water plants. And it's thereby very important for the rest of the food web. So yeah, that's my research focus in general for my PhD, but first I am focusing on my first paper, which looks at how primary production differs between an open water area and an area underneath the solar system in a freshwater lake. And I have not explained it yet, but FPV stands for floating photovoltaics, which is a fancy word for floating solar panels. So yeah, this is for my first paper, my research focus, and I will show you well, how I will test this and a few results in a bit. So my hypothesis is that there will be decreased primary production under the FPV system due to reduced light. Thereby there's less photosynthesis and therefore primary production. And because of lower water temperatures, which not only affects stratification, but also processes like metabolism. Now I will show you the data we have available now, and I will focus on one lake, but at Deltares we have data for 2 lakes, and because the data is quite rare, it might be interesting to introduce that lake as well. So we have 2 sandpit lakes in the north of the Netherlands. On the left you see a lake in Oude Haske, on the right in Bijlen. And Oude Haske is an isolated lake, therefore groundwater fed. And Bijlen is has 2 inlets and 1 outlet. Now, both are very deep sandpit lakes of 20 to 25 meters deep. And they have solar panels on them since 2021. Coverage is around 50%. Now, in 2022, in Oude Haske, a buoy was installed in open water, so that's the blue location over here. And there was a measuring apparatus installed underneath Oude Haske 1, so this part of the solar panels. And both are installed at 1 meter depth in the water, and they measure hourly oxygen, temperature. Yeah, and in 2025, so this year, the same measuring stations have been installed at Bijlen. They're not fully operational yet, but they will also deliver hourly measurements at 1 meter depth. So yeah, this allows for comparison at 1 meter depth between an open water location and underneath the FPV system. Now we have also some additional measurements. So for Oude Haske, we went there this year from April to September once a month to measure over depth. Also parameters like temperature and oxygen, but also nutrients. And we took some phytoplankton measurements, so algae measurements. And for Bijlen, we went there monthly between 2021 and 2023. And we measured again over depth and took 7 phytoplankton measurements. But like I said, I focus for my research on differences in Oudahasca. And we have some results already. So here we're looking at the temperature, like I said, measured at 1 meter depth in open water. So that is the data in blue. And underneath the FPV system, which is the orange data. We have the data from 2022 till October this year. You see this temperature over time. The more spiky data in the background is the raw data. And then there's a smooth line in front of it, which is a GAM model, which we use to test for, differences. And what you can see here is clear seasonality. So lower temperatures are reached in winter, higher temperatures in summer. But we found no significant difference overall. You do see some small differences. So for example, in summer, the temperature below the FPV system seems to be a tiny bit higher, but overall we did not find significant differences between the locations. Then we have the exact graph here for oxygen. And over here you do see a clear difference. So the model here explained 81% of the variation found in the raw data. And we found a significant difference of about, the mean difference is 9% and the difference is significant overall. Again, clear seasonal patterns can be seen with lower values in winter. Now, my colleague Lisa made this graph. So she separated the oxygen data into seasons, and then she made box plots of the data. And here you can see spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And for spring, summer, and autumn, the median of the data seems to be lower for FPV location, which is similar as to what we found in our continuous data, our time plot, I mean. But what is interesting here is that in winter, the differences seem to be a lot larger. Now, our oxygen data can be used to calculate primary production. So just a reminder, it is the production of oxygen and organic material by algae and water plants. And you can see the output or the values we calculated over here for different periods. And overall, we found on average 0.54 milligrams oxygen per liter per day lower GPP. So that corresponds to 35% under the FPV system. However, we did find some interannual variation. So in the table over here, you can see that in 2022, there was a 30% difference. In 2023, there was no significant difference. So that's interesting. And then in 2024 and 2025, we again find a significant difference of 33% and 58%. And other than that, the GPP or the primary production does follow a natural pattern. So higher primary production in spring and summer and lower values around winter or at the end of autumn. Now, like I said, we also did some phytoplankton measurements this year. So from April till September, which was analyzed by an intern, Inze. I yet have to take a deep look at these results. But what you can see over here is that there were multiple taxonomic groups present in Oudahasca. And you see these separate groups in each graph. Then again, for the abundance has been counted for the FPV locations and for the open water location. And he found there to be no significant differences in taxonomic groups between the two locations. What do we take away from this? We found a 35% lower primary production under the FPV and lower oxygen concentrations. And we found no significant temperature or phytoplankton differences. So our difference found in primary production between the two locations cannot be explained by those two variables. And certification I yet have to look at, but I expect there to be no differences between locations as well.
I have a question about this.
Yes.
Because you mentioned this was the data for one lake or two lakes? Sorry.
One lake. I'd ask.
One lake.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's interesting. I was wanting to ask, did you measure the oxygen concentration in total as well? And of course you did. Because a lower primary production only accounts right under, or quite under the FPV, of course. But how was the coverage ratio? Is there like, did you look at that or thought about that? Because of course there's a lower primary production, but if you don't cover your whole lake, well, it already shows that then of course the overall concentration doesn't decrease as much. So is that like something you took in account or want to take account? Because an advice for future people could be, which probably the case, don't cover your whole lake, but how much could be covered? That's of course a question I get from this follow-up question from this result.
Yeah, absolutely. How much we can cover it is definitely an interesting question, which is going to be my future research actually.
Okay, cool.
So indeed, what we find here are local differences. So it's really only at the location underneath the FPV system and in open water. So it's already interesting. Within the lake, we find differences.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, to make it indeed useful for FPV deployment, you'd indeed be interested in, well, what coverage ratios are safe, so to say.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to test with empirical data alone. So therefore, we're going to use a model. To again model the same lake we just looked at, but then indeed use different coverage ratios and different designs as well. We leave out spaces, for example, between the FPV arrays, and then indeed to test what will the impact then be on primary production. Do we find a threshold maybe for safe deployment? All questions yet to be answered, but we'll do that with the software DeltaVDF4. It is a software by Deltares, and it's great at simulating hydrodynamic and ecological processes. And then a Bloom module will be added to include the algae. And you can already see the grid we made on the left here. And we already started working on this a bit with a couple of colleagues. And we have some very small preliminary results, so we shouldn't draw any hard conclusions on them yet, but they're interesting because they match the monitored data. So what you see over here is, on this side, you see the average temperature in summer for the reference lake. So this lake has no solar panels on them. And then you see the temperature at 0 meter, at 5 meter step, 10, 15, so on. And on this side, you see the model results for temperature with solar panels on them at the same depths. And you see here that it does lead to a slight decrease in temperature in the overall lake in summer. The solar panels do. But the impact seems to be uniform across the layers, horizontal layers. And when we zoom in on that and we make a more detailed map of the temperature within the lake, we see some very small differences. So the scale is a bit vague over here, but you can see the scale right here, and it goes from 15.10 degrees to 15.15 degrees. So that's a very small range, so 0.05 degrees. And then you see some local differences. Well, this is at 11 meters depth. It's a bit warmer over here than it is over here. And well, yeah, so the message here is that we found in this model that horizontally there are almost uniform temperature changes, and the differences between open water locations and the FPV locations are very small. And that's similar to what I just presented for the measured data. So that's interesting, but that's a work in progress, and we'll look at impact on primary production and oxygen as well under different coverage ratios. So that's in the future, but we thought it would be interesting to show this already. And then even in the further future, right to say that, I will look at Lake IJssel, and more specifically, a multifunctional spatial plan. So over here you see a part of Lake IJssel, and here you see, well, the plan itself. And it tries to combine renewable energy with nature restoration, but also it leaves out space for the military, and it has some plans for recreation. Now, the plan itself creates shallower depths, mostly to promote the growth of water plants, which does not happen a lot currently in Lake IJssel, and it is very important for the rest of the ecosystem. So they want to create shallower depths to promote this water plant growth, and then also promote the rest of the ecosystem. And then in the middle, you can see the solar panels they plan to place there, well, within the plan. Yeah, and my role in this will be to see what impact the solar panels within this plan have on, well, primary production, but also potentially what it means for the macrofauna and fish habitat suitability. And I will again use the Deltares software Delft3D for this. And there's another module which can be used to test for the impact for the rest of the habitats. But yeah, like I said, that's even further away. For now, I have to finish the first paper and then the model, and well, but now you have an idea of what I will be looking at, and you have seen some results. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Emma.
Nice. And maybe to fill you in, Emma, there were apparently 2 links, so some people came later. But your fans are all here, so now we can do the Q&A, I would say. But it might be that they don't reflect on your first slides because they missed it. So
that's okay.
Yeah. Any questions to Emma on this topic? So we.
Yeah, Bente.
Yeah, Bente.
Hi, Emma. Thank you for your presentation. It was super interesting to hear more about it. I'm very curious to also the further research you're going to do. I just had a question. I did a similar study, not different. I didn't have such good data as you. So, but I wanted to ask about one of the hypotheses I had about floating structures is that they could lower potentially the temperature. And I was really curious if you could, I know it's maybe a bit out of your scope, but when we talk about primary production and higher temperatures can lead to eutrophication, I was wondering if you, could reflect on that. How do you see eutrophication to have a role in your research, Chris?
Well, specifically for my system, eutrophication does not play a large role since the sandpit lake I'm looking at is very nutrient arm. So poor, sorry. I'm combining English and Dutch here. Nutrient poor. So for my lake specifically, I do not expect there to be well, a large impact on that. But of course, every system you're going to look at is different and will respond differently. So that's really the complexity, I think, here with FPV deployment and providing guidelines. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Any more
Yeah.
questions? And maybe on the guidelines. Oh, first Jan, of course. Yeah.
Thank you, Emma, for your presentation. And yeah, I have a question for you regarding this coverage ratio. Do you think that you will come up with a unique coverage ratio? Do you think that we will have different coverage ratios per type of water body? What's your
Yes, I do think that every single water body will need a different coverage
Right.
ratio for safe deployment. Yes. But I think my study provides more insight into the impact on one of the important ecological processes. So that's the new part here. But then to come up with a unique or a one coverage ratio for all lakes, no, I don't think that's
but it could be that,
Poss-
every water body has its own optimal coverage ratio, but
yes, I think so. And for similar systems, it might be useful to use this information, like different artificially created lakes that are also deep and, well, nutrient poor and in a temperate region. Yeah, but very different systems.
Yeah.
Still, each system is going to be unique. Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah, Rui.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I missed part of your presentation because it was explained. But you're talking about the cover, so that you're going to try different cover areas. So I'm wondering if you're going to consider only the area of the cover, or if you're only going to also going to consider like the transparency, because there is some light that does get through, and also some wind. So I'm wondering how you're going to deal with that part, because only increasing the area. Yeah, I mean, if you're considering like 100% reduction where it is covered, or like some sort of percentage. So I'm curious how you're going to deal with that.
I haven't specified the exact coverage ratios that I will test yet. But I think it's it's very interesting idea indeed to also change the transparency of the floating solar panels indeed.
Exactly.
It's yet to be specified, but interesting mention.
Yeah, because you can have like a larger area, but not like 100% blocking. So it depends, of course, on the design. Yeah, that also varies, of course.
Yes.
And I think Oude Haske and Bijlen are not the same in that sense.
They are the same.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Both
Same.
GroenLeven. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one we visited last time in South Bommel in the ClimateCafe Sparkles, that one was different.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. A lot of different systems. Yusra.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. That was really interesting. I see that you've put a probe underneath the solar panel and then one in the open water. Do you think that the water quality around the solar panel is being affected? And so how far away would you put the open water probe from the probe underneath the solar panel?
Oh, good question. That again is going to be system specific, I think, and would be easier to explore with a model to really see indeed up until where effects take place. But it depends on weather conditions as well. Again, I don't think you can put a strict number there on how many meters away from you should be, as far as possible, but that's not always. So yeah, I can't give a hard
And
number
maybe
there.
based on the new model results, we see that the solar panels, even though they don't cover the full area, they do seem to have an effect on the full area.
Yeah.
So in this specific case, at least, you can't go far enough away from the solar panels because the whole lake is affected.
Yeah.
In the ideal case, you need another lake next to it, the same lake without panels.
and measurements way before.
And
FPV
basic
installation.
reference measurement.
Yeah.
That's the ideal world.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Right. Because I have a question too. If no one else from the crowd does want to ask a question, then I go ahead. You showed us this stratification, and there is a thermocline in summer, and we see in the modeling as expected that horizontal in the summer there is an horizontal spreading, and you have a difference between the upper layer and the lower layer. And in winter, it's different because then you've got other different mixing processes going on. And you showed results that in the winter there was a larger difference between under the solar panels and without the solar panels. And is that due to the kept mixing processes? So are they the same, or do you think there is a change and that might affect your found data?
Larger differences in oxygen, or
I think it was temperature that there was the difference you saw that in the winter was there was a lower temperature under the solar panels compared to without solar panels. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I thought I saw that in your data that you showed with the box plots.
So in the temperature, the box
plot.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Why that is? Well, it could be a variety of reasons for that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the data and I was okay, this is nice. You found a difference, which is always what you're looking for in science. No, it doesn't matter if it's bad or good. So I was wondering if there were already some thoughts about that, and especially because the temperature changes, but also the wind that can influence these processes of water mixing, which of course influences the whole ecosystem. But okay, you're still starting on explaining why. Yeah.
Box plots were indeed also made by my colleague.
Oh yeah,
who
of course. Yeah.
couldn't join today, so that complicates things, but it's still a very interesting question.
Yeah, well, and especially in summer, I'm interested because if it really messed up with the thermocline, which is like on a specific height, but if that varies, then the whole mixing can kind of collapse, and then you have the whole different processes, and that's of course something we're afraid of if we're placing solar panels to don't disrupt the system too much. So I was actually happy that this summer we didn't see that much changes of that much differences between them, but in the winter we did. So I was really curious. Okay, and I had a follow-up question because you're using the model with the Bloom new model integrated. And you did measurements. I was wondering, do you, in your research and with Sparkles, do you do validation of all these model results by the found data, or are they still separate parts at this moment?
No, we will be validating them.
Okay.
With the monitoring data. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So then you can adjust the model. That could be a final outcome.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Nice.
Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Bente has a follow-up. Yeah.
I'm also looking forward to that. It's very interesting. I also had a question because we were talking about the differences in winter in terms of oxygen as well. Now, in terms of oxygen, I had a question. What do you think is so significantly different in 2023 compared to 2025? Like, what factors influence that the difference is so big? Because like 58% difference and 2% difference, that is like huge. Do you have any hypothesis about that?
I do. So one thing I did not mention is that Oude was built in two phases. So in 2021, one part of it was built, and in 2023, an additional part was added, which was the biggest part you saw actually. And I think the installation of that definitely could have had an impact on the entire ecosystem and disrupted processes. So that's one major hypothesis. But I could also look at meteorological data from that year, for example, see how that differed from the year before and after. Yeah.
Biological data, did you say that? Or
Meteorological, so weather data.
meteorological? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you guys also do measurements of macrofauna and phytoplankton, right? Or not?
Only of phytoplankton.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and only on separate occasions, not continuously.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Curious what the significant difference is.
Me too. Yeah.
And it might be indeed very important to have a weather station near. Because that, of course, that was learningful from Zwolle of Plus as well. So, yeah. I think we're dying out the questions, so everything was clear. Maybe we should have started with this, but also zooming out a bit. How does your research relate to other researchers? We have 3 sessions on floating, about Sparkle's project and also Sure. So that's maybe first one project. Can you tell what is the difference between the projects, or what do you expect after it? And then after it, maybe we can go to Marta, who's the speaker next week, and she can tell what she's, as an introduction, what she will tell about next week, so we know also what is coming and how your research relates to the others.
Yeah, sure. So the project I am in, Sure, looks at sustainable, reliable, and efficient floating solar. So I think it does more than just looking at sustainability, but indeed my role really is in that corner. And my research focus really on, like I said, the impact on primary production. So it's really the base of the food web, I would say. And I'm really trying to make that bridge, even if it's a small bridge, from the abiotic part, the abiotic impact, the impact of floating solar on the abiotic conditions, towards what is the impact on the biotic conditions, so the rest. And I'm starting small with just looking at phytoplankton, but that's it. That's not.
And I think indeed this is opposed to the Sparkles project, where people are looking more at the higher trophic levels, maybe, or at the food web itself.
Yeah.
We gaan zitten in een webinar.
Sorry about that.
Nice disruption there. No, because it's very nice that there's so much research, 2 big projects, a lot of PhD also related. So I think we're gonna have a big boost on the information about these floating solar panels. So that's quite exciting. Yeah. Nice. No further questions, Your Honor. Marta, are you here? And I know I put you on the spot. If you're there, maybe tell what you do next week. Yeah. That would be great.
Yeah, can you hear me well?
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so my PhD is in inland floating PV as well, but what I'm going to talk about next week is in agrivoltaics. It's what I worked in my master thesis. So I did a model on heat and mass transfer within agrivoltaic systems. The idea is that it has some connection also with floating for the evapotranspiration aspects, for instance, that there are some interesting links there. And also the tool that I developed could have also some potential links to what we are doing in Sparkle. So I thought that could be interesting. And also it's another type of implementation of photovoltaics in the environment.
Nice. I think everybody was listening very enthusiastic. So I hope next week everybody's here. So I think then we're gonna round up, but not after, of course. Congratulations, Emma, and thank you so much for a great presentation. It's the start of 3. Next week we're gonna have Marta, and then Henriette in 2 weeks. So a quite exciting series. So I think we close off now, and thanks again, and I hope to see you next week. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye, Emma. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye.